We've been exploring the 7 ages of globalization, why there are 7 ages, how these ages change as a result of physical geography, as a result of technological innovations and diffusion, as the result of changes of our social institutions, political, economic, cultural, religious. We're going to go visit different parts of the world now to understand these 7 ages of globalization by looking at some of the most important and iconic places on the planet to understand global change. But as we take that trip together around the world and across time, let's keep in mind why we are learning these issues and materials. And the reason, in part, of course, is it's fun and it's absolutely fascinating and wonderful to have an idea of global history and different parts of the world and how societies have changed over time. But we're also interested in solving problems. The study of sustainable development is a study for a purpose, to help make life better on this planet, in your schools, in your communities, in your nations, in your regions of the world, and of course, globally. I often think, what if we had medical schools that studied disease but didn't study cures? A doctor might say, well, we know you're going to die in 7 days if they didn't treat the patient. That would not be the kind of learning we want. We want learning that is results-oriented, that is solutions-oriented. And we need solutions to some big challenges in the world today. What are those great challenges facing humanity that you as young people are going to face for years and years and decades to come? I think the simplest way to put it is that we are 8 billion people now on a very crowded planet. And with all of us interacting in such intensive ways, there are 4 major challenges that we face. The first is that though we now are a world of great wealth compared to the beginning of the 6th age of globalization, just when industrialization was getting underway, and on average, the income level per person on the planet is now more than $12,000 per person, which is not bad. It's enough to have a decent life. Though on average, incomes have risen significantly during the 6th and 7th ages of globalization, we still have extreme poverty, extreme deprivation, afflicting hundreds of millions of people on the planet. We have poverty in the midst of wealth. Challenge number 1 is to end extreme poverty. And it is fitting that Sustainable Development Goal number 1 calls for the end of extreme poverty by 2030. We're not going to meet that timeline, I'm sorry to say. So many distractions, not enough goodwill. We could have done it, but we have to meet that goal as soon as possible. A second major challenge, as the world went from poverty to wealth during especially the 6th and the 7th ages of globalization, our world became unprecedentedly unequal. We have people with wealth that is so large we can't even imagine it. Individuals with more than $100 billion of personal wealth. And we have people that are literally starving, that do not have enough to eat, do not have enough income to be able to purchase enough to eat, to stay healthy, that's certainly the case, and even to stay alive in many tragic circumstances. We have inequalities across countries, the gap between the high-income countries and the low-income countries is often 100 to 1 in terms of per capita income. But we also have huge inequalities within our societies. Some people with more wealth and power than any individual human being could ever need and should ever have by some standards. And that gap actually continues to widen in many places as well. Vast power and wealth in a few hands, sometimes controlling all of politics as well, while people suffer great degradation and lack of access even to the most basic needs of life. Now, the third major challenge comes from the fact that during the 6th and 7th ages of globalization, starting from 1800 till today, the world's population has increased roughly 10 times, and the output per person another 10 times, roughly speaking. So that means the total economic output, if you measure the gross domestic product in each place in the world and add them up to get a gross world product, the total output in the world sold on the marketplace in a given year, that has increased at least 100 times. And really, while it's hard to compare the economy in 1800 and today because so much has changed qualitatively as well as quantitatively, I think it's right to say that the human pressure on the physical environment because of all this economic activity has increased at least 100 times, but probably hundreds and hundreds of times in many particular ways. Now, as the population increased tenfold, as output per person increased at least tenfold, Earth did not increase at all. The size of the planet, the physical processes, the Earth's ecosystems, they're the same or in degradation. They have been depleted of their productivity, of their natural capital, because of all of the pressures of deforestation and overfishing and reckless pollution of the environment, and now, of course, of the massive climate change caused by the human release of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, most importantly, the carbon dioxide that is emitted into the atmosphere when we burn coal, oil, and natural gas. So that's the third great challenge. We are eating away at the very foundations of life, the environmental foundations of life, the biodiversity, the safe climate, the water systems that we need for our well-being. And we're doing it, ironically, because our economic activity has become so powerful that it is undermining the very basis of our survival right now, a term that was coined more than 50 years ago in a famous book called Limits to Growth, is that we are, quote, overshooting the environmental limits. The fourth challenge that we face is conflict. We are meeting together in this class at a time of conflicts around the world. There are wars raging in nearly all parts of the world. And because of the technology of war, because of the more powerful weapons, now the drones and the autonomous weapons, because we are in the nuclear age, the devastation caused by war is shocking, is disheartening, is extraordinarily dangerous, and is brought to us in full view on the internet every day. We see what's happening. Wars are not some distant phenomenon. Wars are ever present for everybody because If you are in the war zone, well, then you know the tragedy. And if you are away from the war zone, you see it with your own eyes every single day. So what are our great challenges? They can be summarized as the idea of sustainable development, because sustainable development brings together four basic ideas, four basic goals: that there should be prosperity for everybody, that there should be social justice within our societies, that we need environmental sustainability so that we don't eat away at the very foundations of our lives and our livelihoods, and that there should be peace and cooperation on the planet. Those are the pillars of sustainable development. Now, two wise comments are very important for us to take to heart. One is by a wonderful biologist. He was one of the world's leading evolutionary biologists. He was a colleague of mine when I taught at Harvard University, and he was a guru and teacher of mine as well, a wonderful, wise scientist and human being. And this is Edward Wilson, one of the great biologists of modern times. And he observed famously, "We exist in a bizarre combination of Stone Age emotions, medieval beliefs, and godlike technology." And for Professor Wilson, these Stone Age emotions were part of human nature formed in our biological evolution, our ability to cooperate or not cooperate, our trust within a group and our distrust to the outer group. These are our Stone Age emotions. Our medieval beliefs and institutions are political and economic and cultural institutions that last for centuries and that shape the way we see the world and understand the world. And of course, our godlike technology is the point we have been making about the digital age, that we are in an era of unprecedentedly rapid technological advance, so much so we can't even control what these technologies do or mean. Will artificial intelligence be good or bad for the world? Could it unleash dangers that are unforeseen? Well, we know that the answer is yes, because advanced technologies can create havoc as well as good. So for Professor Wilson, it is the lack of synchronization of our human nature, of our medieval institutions, like the U.S. Constitution, agreed in the year 1787, but now called upon to solve problems in the 2020s. Well, this is a major question mark, and our technologies perhaps running ahead of our ability to use them or mobilize them for good purposes rather than for dangerous purposes. Now, a similar very, very wise statement came from President John F. Kennedy. President Kennedy was president between early 1961 and 1963. He was a great inspiration also to me as a very young person growing up in the United States, because he aimed for solutions. He aimed for taking on big challenges and solving great problems. And most importantly, he aimed for peace on the planet. In his inaugural address on January 20th, 1961, President Kennedy said this: "For the world is very different now, for man holds in his mortal hands the power to abolish all forms of human poverty and all forms of human life." Wow. What President Kennedy was saying to us is that because of our godlike technologies, and in 1961 he was especially referring to the nuclear age, because remember that the atom bomb had been invented in 1945 and used twice by the United States against Japan in 1945 in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And then soon afterwards came the hydrogen or thermonuclear bomb and the human capacity for the first time ever to destroy all human life through a thermonuclear war. But at the same time, this incredible surge of technological know-how meant that for the first time in history, it was also possible to end extreme poverty, just as we are calling for in SDG number 1. But already in 1961, more than 6 decades ago, President Kennedy recognized that because of our technological capacity, extreme poverty could be ended. The paradox, as President Kennedy expresses it, is that the same technological know-how has two sides to it. One side is the side of good, solving human problems, addressing the climate change crisis, ending extreme poverty, ensuring that nobody or no group is left behind from prosperity. But the converse side, the other side of the coin, is that that technological know-how can lead to massive destruction. And we know that this is true not only of nuclear weapons, this is true of artificial intelligence, this is true of advanced biotechnology, this is true of our energy system, which can, on the one side, provide energy, but on the other side, wreck the planet through carbon dioxide emissions. So President Kennedy expresses the ultimate paradox of our age, and that is advanced technologies can save us or they can end us. And that is really a human choice, not a technological choice. And so this is now our journey to find the way to deploy our know-how, our skills, our beliefs about right and wrong, our economic, political, religious, social institutions, so that we choose to abolish all forms of human poverty and save all of human life.